Welcome back to this 1955 Studebaker. Today we're going to be doing some more work. Specifically, we're going to be doing some rust repair on the inside. I've gone ahead and pulled out every seat out of this thing.
Holy! The hell? Okay. I guess it's time to do a... Hey, there's a fast food straw. Guess it's time to do a lot of shop vacuuming. I'm gonna go grab a respirator.
And all this is now vacuumed out. Surprisingly, the metal under here is nice and solid. I figured with the giant mouse nest on it, it'd all be gone, but that's all perfectly savable. Now, unfortunately, there's probably a mouse nest under the rest of these seats. I also found that piece of paper I'll have to look at here in a second, but first, we need to vacuum out that seat. I was like, man, why is this thing not sucking? The hose isn't clogged. Well, sure enough, I filled the entire tank up. I got this one mostly cleaned up. There's still a bunch of stuff stuck in the springs. I'm gonna have to scrub to get the rest of this stuff out. I got all the stuff the shop vac would suck out. Not in great shape, but it's a whole lot better than it was. It's not as rusty as I thought it would be either. Interestingly, these seats have been recovered. These used to be red, and they've been recovered with this black and this stuff, and originally I guess it was red. There's a little bit more of the red. And it looks like the seat covers were probably like a white or tan or whatever you want to call it underneath there. Kind of cool, I guess. I don't know what I'm going to go back to when I redo these seats. I don't know if I'll go back to the red or if I'll go back to the black. Ultimately, I think if the car's painted red, it would probably make sense to go to the red, but I do like that black. Weirdly, if we look at the front seat, as you can see, the entire thing was just kind of white. There's no red on it, so I'm not sure if those red seats were out of a different car, or if for some reason the rear seats were red and these ones weren't. These ones kind of match the interior, so I'm assuming the front ones are original. They just have these weird seat covers on them. I don't know. When I redo this interior, I guess I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do with the seats, but yeah, that's an interesting find. I also pulled out the other seat, and there is just as big of a mouse nest inside it, so more shop vacuuming. Okay, again, the floor surprisingly isn't too rusty, so we're good there. I need to figure out how to remove this back seat cushion because I guarantee there's gonna be mice stuff behind that as well. Surprisingly, these front seats don't seem to have mice stuff in them. I don't know if it's because they're not like tight against the ground or what, but from what I can tell, these are pretty clean inside, so I don't have to worry too much about that. I mean, I guess I can't really find a way inside of these, so I don't know if these have stuff in them, but let's see if we can get this back cushion off. Well, I mean, it's not as bad as it could be, I guess. I mean, compared to the bottom seats, I guess this thing could be just solid, but still quite a big mouse nest there. If we take a look at this seat, we can see that this one was also either tan or white, whatever it was. But that means I'm going to assume both these rear seats are probably out of a different vehicle. I can't imagine that all the seats were either tan or white and then those rear ones were red. So I'm going to assume, since these are easily removable, they were probably swapped in from a different car at some point. And we are done. As you can tell, we're not. The issue is, I burned out the shop vac motor, so not only did this shop vac get run over, it is now burned out. A bunch of stuff ended up apparently making it past that filter, so now the bearings don't sound very healthy, and after a little bit, it starts sounding horrendous. So, yes, definitely need a new shop vac now. But, as you can see here, is the interior doesn't look too bad rust-wise, very usable. Now, I took out at least 3 full shop vac cans worth of mouse nest in this thing. That is absolutely wild. I wasn't actually planning on filming this, but I'm removing this seat so I can get under it and find out what's under it, see how many mice nests are inside the seat and all that fun stuff. And I realized this seat was blocked up on wood to, I guess, make it about an inch taller. Was somebody really short driving? Well, okay, I only gained an inch. Was somebody somewhat short driving this, or is that actually fact? There's no way that blocks of wood are factory. That is wild. And it's been quite a while now, so it's time to wash out all of this rust performer, let that dry, and then we'll paint this thing. Obviously, then we're going to cut out a bunch of it and redo it, but a good bit of it's savable metal, so we might as well just paint all of it, and we can just cut out the bits we need to replace later. And it's probably not the most efficient way of doing it, but it's the way I'm going to do it. And now we got the interior washed out, dried, and now it's time to actually pour 15 the entire interior and get this thing, well, hopefully nicely rust prevented. And there we have it. As you can see, it has been pour 15'd all over the inside here, except for obviously spots where I'm going to have to cut out metal. I'll probably cut out some of the areas that are also pour 15, but as you can see, it is very nice and wet right now, so once all this dries, we'll get into the actual repairing of the metal. But just being painted like this, it looks so much better on the inside.
once we repair all these holes, it'll look so much better, but that looks absolutely incredible. Now it's time to do a little bit of cutting and remove some metal. So I cut out a bunch of this footwall. I don't want to cut out too much more, as I don't want to, like, collapse the side of the vehicle. So I got this. We have a little bit of cutting out we got on this piece of frame here. We got to patch this section and this section. And then basically this entire footwell area needs replaced, which will be fun to do.
Metal on the top right here ended up being a lot more thin than I thought it was, so I ended up just cutting out everything that was a little bit thin and just welded in this entire piece of metal right here. So this body support is good. So now we can move on to the layer above it, which is the actual floor right here. I've also gone ahead and put the metal etch rust converter stuff on here, so once that sits here for about 30 minutes, we'll wash that off, and then we'll paint this with the Pour 15 as well, because we don't want any non-painted metal anywhere on this thing.
I don't actually know if I've mentioned this yet, but the original carpet in this, not the original carpet, I'm going to guess, because I can't imagine this was done at the factory, but the carpet that was in this most recently was installed with nails. I have pulled out so many nails. Who in the right mind installs carpet with nails? Come on. When I was under this thing, you had to be very careful, especially these pans, because there's just a billion nails stabbing down at you. I cannot imagine that was factory. It also left a whole bunch of holes I'm going to have to go through and weld. Thank you very much. But yeah, I don't think we'll be using that method to reinstall carpet. The more cutting I do, the more rust I am finding, which is how it goes. Got a couple holes cut out over there. It's cutting out all these spots here. It's annoying. Even if I took the body off the frame, I wouldn't actually be able to fix some of these issues because this body is multiple layers down here in a few spots. And mostly where those two layers are is a lot of rust because water would get trapped in between those two layers. So basically everywhere there's a support from the body that would go from the frame to the outer edge of the body is a ton of rust. So we're cutting basically all of those out so we can repair the rust on these here. I actually already welded in a chunk there. Need to weld in a chunk there. Same with every other body support. These are going to be fun because this is swelled up right here because there's a bunch of rust packed underneath it. So I'll probably have to cut this up, clean all that out, and weld some metal back in there. Super fun. Also, since somebody nailed the previous carpet down, I have to go through and weld a whole bunch of little dots all over the place, which again, really fun. But we are getting there slowly. But I'm going to need a few more sheets of steel. There we have it. All of the frame to body supports have been repaired. Now, obviously the body still has all the holes in it that we need to fix. But now that the frame to body supports are all done, we'll be able to finish those up, get them ground down and painted, and then we can put the actual body panels in. Now, as for where the seat mounts, it's still very rusty, but I don't want to cut any more metal out until I get some more metal back in, as I don't want to reduce the rigidity of this chassis too much and have stuff bend in places that it shouldn't be bending. So the next thing will be putting in floor pans in the front here, and obviously over these body supports where I had to cut out. And then we'll move on to where the seat actually is. Now, it's flux core welding, so that's why it doesn't look very good, but it's plenty strong. It just looks horrendous because of the flux instead of gas. But conveniently, we'll grind it down like that one, paint it, and you'll never know except for all of these videos. Very slowly but surely welding floors into this. I had to weld a giant section, and they are much larger than I originally cut out because I realized it all bad, so I just cut all the bad stuff out. I also still got a large section there. The issue I'm discovering is the underside of this car. It's covered in a nice, highly flammable oil. So when I was welding that, you weld a little bit, then you gotta stop, go pat under the car to pat out all the flames, then you weld a little bit more and repeat until you finally get it welded. I don't know how I never burned off all of the oil, but it just kept reigniting. So I guess I probably should have wire wheeled the entire under before, but we're this far in. I don't want to jack this thing up with all the cutout spots, so I guess we continue lighting the car on fire until we eventually get it done. It is coming along nicely. There's not really much to show while I'm doing it. I'm just welding, grinding, welding, grinding. And I got that section there done, that section there done, this section here done. Well, this section still needs all of that cut out, but I'm working on these back corners now, working on that section, then we'll do that one. And then we gotta move forward, probably do that next. And then move on to maybe, honestly, floor pans. Yeah, the back two sections are now done, so we're gonna get those metal prepped. Then I'm going to get those painted, probably get that painted at the same, actually no, I'll wait on that because I'm probably going to touch it when I go to work on it somewhere else. But we'll get those done because that'll make the back half of this completely done. Now we need to do basically where I'm sitting, which is the other one of these. And we are done with that. That took hours. It honestly would have been a lot faster to probably cut that whole thing out and just bend a whole new piece, but well, I guess we're done now. That's done, so I'm going to get some rust. Actually, I'm going to vacuum up because I am full of metal dust in here. I'm going to get this all vacuumed up. Rust convert and metal prep all that, get all that painted along with all these other things, and then finally
we'll move on to these here. But those I might have to get some more metal for. Once these are done, have some metal in the footwells, then we'll continue cutting out this section here with the seat mounts. As I said previously, I don't want to weaken these sides too much by taking all of this metal out and having the whole side end up flexing on me and breaking stuff. And there we go. All 4 rear body supports were repaired and then covered back up correctly. So all of those are done. The inside of that rear footwell is now done. Now, all the rest needs to be done, but we need to do the floor pans in the front before I cut out the rest of this. So, I guess that's where we move on to the floor pan. Now, this is going to be a lot more complicated because I actually have to form the fancy shapes in the metal, which is going to take some ingenuity. And I also have to see if I have enough steel. I think I have enough to finish these, but I'm not sure if I have enough to do the rest of this, but we'll see. But that's going to be for another part because, unfortunately, I'm out of the weekend, and I don't have the stuff ready to make those shapes yet. So, it'll be fun, but we'll get her done. But if you like what you saw, please leave a like and subscribe. We gotta work on this and the project behind it. Yeah, that's fun.